Alright guys, welcome back to another video. I'm addressing an objection, so to speak, today. Or basically, if someone rocks up and he says, "Who is this guy? He's just a young fella. He's putting videos online. He's pretending to be a teacher. What does he have to say to me?" And it's a valid objection, like people will jump online and say whatever, they'll start prophesying, start teaching, start giving their 2 cents on every odd thing. And I wanted to sort of explain a bit of my, background philosophy around this, and I guess why I do think I am qualified to speak on the things that I speak about. And I mean, number one, before I even get to what I wrote, as a Christian, I have an imperative to spread the gospel, but it's not just the gospel. Obviously, it is the message of the gospel, salvation through Jesus Christ, the teachings of the church and stuff, but I'm also 100% convinced that the way that God tells us to live and the virtues that we follow and we grow in are essential for people to hear about and practice, even if you don't, believe in Christ, or even if you don't end up converting to Christianity or Catholicism. I think the plan that God has laid out, for what I believe to be authentic masculinity, and the activities and things that I do in my life, I think they're objectively the best thing for human flourishing. So in that regard, and in the regard of me being a Christian, it is imperative that I share these things with you, regardless of whether or not you feel I'm qualified or have had enough life experience and whatever. Now, all of that being said, I wanted to briefly look at, I'm 23 years old, almost 24, what are some of those things that I've achieved or experienced where I feel that I can actually give that back to someone, and especially men in my target demographic, which are around my age, maybe slightly older, definitely younger as well. Faith. I started practicing my faith quite strongly, probably around 19 or 20, sort of around during COVID. Started praying the rosary a lot. I met my friend who went to the traditional Latin Mass. I started reading about Fatima. I read Fire Within by Father Thomas Dubé, and I had an incredible growth in my faith. And I consider myself to be devout. I went to daily Mass for a long time, and this isn't about pumping myself up, but when you give that much time and energy and devotion to practicing your faith, you learn things and you get a maturity of heart, which I think a lot of men are seeking. So I'm not claiming to be, this is what I wanted to illustrate visually, if this is all of life, I'm only here, as is illustrated by this box. I haven't actually gone any further. But the fact that I have made it here, and my faith has influenced me and impacted me so much, there are a lot of guys who are all the way over here and they want to get here. And I've walked that journey. I've walked that journey of virtue, of learning how to pray, of chastity, of devotion to the Mass that I feel I can teach. And younger men who were in my position, who've just finished school or coming out of school, maybe they're working a job, but they haven't really, given a lot of time or attention or energy to their faith, because I've walked in that path and I'm quite an intellectual guy, generally speaking. I can share that to people, and I will share that to people, and that's what I'm doing. Career. Over a lot of this time before 2024, and obviously I'm back on the farm now, I worked full-time on a dairy farm, and for the majority of that time, I was working 6 days a week, if not 7. And that's a commitment to work in terms of hours, but also, obviously, it's quite a diverse set of skills out here on the dairy farm, which again, many people my age simply have not experienced. They've either gone to university or they're working in the city in some sort of warehouse job or whatever. And the discipline and the virtues and the skills, and I'm not talking about physical skills, like interpersonal skills, all of that kind of stuff, are things that I learned throughout that period of commitment in my life. And obviously now I've got a whole bunch of different initiatives that I'm working on, such as Fit for the Kingdom, such as my coaching and mentorship, the social media, all in addition to continuing working on the farm. But the reality is that there's a lot of wisdom and insight that I can share with people and that people can relate to in that regard. Study. I started off at university before COVID. Not that that did me heaps of good. It was a good start. Then in 2024, I did 1 year at Campion College, which is a Catholic liberal arts school in Sydney. And then now I took a little break to get married and stuff, but now I'm finishing my degree, which is a Bachelor of Arts with a double major in theology and philosophy. So I'll be finishing that at the end of next year, 2027. Right now I'm doing 5 units. I was working on that this morning, but obviously I'm learning stuff from the study. But again, okay, you're a young dude, you're working full time, you're gymming, you're creating content, and you're devoted to finishing this degree and you're doing full-time study. Well, managing that, committing to that, those are all essential lessons and things that I'm learning by lived experience, which other people desire. People ask me, how do you get so much done? How do you balance X, Y, and Z? And that's stuff that I can share with people, like having a strong internal conviction on why I'm doing this and why I feel this is all so important. Again, I'm not claiming to be all the way over here, but to someone who is here and has done these things and is pushing these things forwards, a guy who might be lower on the scale in any number of these things, there's many people that are ahead of me, but if someone is lower, they can look to me and see, okay, how did this guy get there? What is he doing? What has he done to put himself in this position where he can do all of this? And that's what I hope to give you guys. Relationship and marriage. You know, I started dating, now I'm married. We've got our first child, thanks be to God, being born soon. People want that. Young men want that. Young men want to find a good and virtuous, holy wife. How do you do that? What are the things you develop in yourself in order to attract that kind of woman? Questions that are being asked constantly. And gym. I'm only 82.2 kilos now. I've lost a bit of weight over Lent, but you know, when I started getting into the gym and I started competing in powerlifting and I had a coach and I only weighed like 62 kilos finishing high school at this height, like 6'1", and I devoted myself to the gym. I learned how to lift weights. I got a coach. I was on the bulk. I put on like 20 kilos within 365 days. People want that. People want to know how to do that. People want to learn discipline. People want to know what to do in the gym. These are all things that people genuinely desire. Like there's a market for these things. So if you're a guy who wants any of that, and I'm not claiming to have it all, but I've made a few steps, I've gotten a few steps ahead, it's perfectly reasonable and rational, especially with the power of social media, to share this to people and for people to want to come and learn. And this is the ultimate crux of the video and of the argument, is that a big part of the reason why I even started doing all this stuff or got ahead was from modeling. What do I mean by that? Is that I looked at certain people in my life, friends that I had met, men who had achieved what I wanted. I looked at someone like Jocko Willink and said, man, I want this guy's discipline. You know, he's training jiu-jitsu, he's training in the gym, he's created this podcast where he's able to help people in leadership. What did that guy do to put himself in the position that he is now? Okay, well, he works out every day. Okay, well, he eats healthy. He reads books, X, Y, and Z. Saints, man, I feel so weak in my faith. I feel so underdeveloped. Who can I look at? The saints, St. Francis de Sales, Introduction to the Devout Life. I'm going to start copying everything he does. I'm going to start copying everything that Jocko does. I want to bulk and put on some weight. Eric Bugenhagen, what does he do? Okay, he does very heavy deadlifts, squats, bench press, overhead press, heavy compound lifts, and he eats like a horse. 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day. Roger that. That's what I'm doing. So it doesn't take a PhD to be able to look at people who are ahead of you in the areas that you want to achieve in the areas that you want to excel in, and say, okay, I need to do what this guy's doing. What I'm doing currently is not working. So what do I need to do to put myself in those positions? And it's as simple as copy and paste. And this is something that people need to understand, because there's so many people that will complain about their circumstances, or they'll be struggling with a specific sin, a specific vice, a specific shortfall. Maybe it's sloth, you know, you're struggling with snoozing. What do the people who are disciplined do? Well, they set their alarm and they don't negotiate. I don't wake up at 4 or 5 or 3:45 and think, man, how do I feel? You know, do I feel like I have enough energy to get up, or do I need to snatch an extra 10 to 15? No. I set the alarm. I'm getting up at this time because I need to. And this isn't about work. Even on days that I haven't had to work straight away, I will still get up at 3:45 or 4 if I need to get in my prayer, if I need to get in my study, if I need to get in my content, if I want to spend some time reading. If I've set that intention, I'm not negotiating with myself. I'm not making the decision in the moment. It is predetermined. And it's the same thing with the rest of life. Okay, I want to grow in this area. I want to grow in the gym. I'm going to be in that gym with my hands on the barbell 6 days a week, regardless of whether or not I feel like it, regardless of whether or not I'm busy. I'm in there at 5. I make the time and I'm going to make the progress. And it's about showing up and copying the model of success. It's as simple as that. So, final point. If you are struggling with things, if you're looking at people online or on social media and you say, oh man, I want to be like that guy, well, don't just turn off your phone or go home and keep doing the exact same behaviors that you've been doing. The definition of someone who's insane is doing the same action and expecting a different result. If you guys are all just doing the same actions and living day after day without changing everything, you're going to be the same man or worse over a long enough time period. If you actually want to change, you need to look at what's working for people, look at those role models in your life. What are they doing? What did they do to put themselves in the position they are today? And you copy that. And instead of flatlining or going downwards, where's the other blinking whiteboard pen? This is what people don't understand. If you don't change anything, you're not just going to go flat. You're actually going to go down. It's the law of entropy. So if you want to actually achieve, you'll need to change something in that crux point. And that crux point is today, right now. If you're not happy with who you are, if you're not happy with what you're doing, what do you need to change? And that's the question you need to ask. So hopefully that's insightful. I'm obviously still here. I'm not over here. I'm still learning new things. I'm still studying. I'm still early on in my relationship. I'm still growing in my faith, all of those things. But I hope that what I've gained over the past few years and what I'm currently learning will help you, is helping you. And look, I don't need the validation from this video right now. Like, I've had enough comments and DMs and the fact that all the social media accounts are growing, I think are evidence enough that people obviously find this kind of message helpful. So don't think that like I'm depressed or some dude left a comment. It's simply articulating a bit of what's going on behind the scenes, a bit of the motivation behind it, and how I hope to continue to be able to serve you in this capacity. Please let me know if you have any questions, any video topics, leave a comment. If you want to discuss a bit more of one-on-one help, I am going to be looking at launching like a bit of a mentorship program and group as we proceed through the year. We already ran the Man of God 33-day challenge over the New Year's, which was great. So if you have any questions about that, hit me up. I'll leave you with that. Blessed Friday. Make sure to hit some fasting today. God bless.